Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Nelson. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from around the country. Cardinal DiNardo of Galveston-Houston, president of the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, said in a statement that the U.S. Catholic Church stands in unity with the First Baptist Church in Sutherland Springs, Texas, in this time of terrible tragedy. The Cardinal issued the statement after a lone gunman entered the church while 50 people were attending Sunday services and shot nearly everyone in the congregation. 26 people died and at least 20 others were injured. It was the worst mass shooting in Texas history and the deadliest at any house of worship in the United States history. San Antonio Archbishop Gustavo Garcia said the evil perpetrated on these families who were gathered to worship God on the Lord's Day, especially children and the elderly, makes no sense and will never be fully understood. The Archbishop called on people to aid these brothers and sisters with prayer and to also pray fervently for peace amidst all the violence which seems to be overwhelming our society. He added, "We must be lights in the darkness." The suspect in the shooting is 26-year-old Devin Kelly, whose in-laws were members of the church. He was later found dead in his vehicle, apparently from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Those who died ranged in age from 5 to 72 years old. In news from around the world, the Vatican Department for Integral Human Promotion is organizing a conference on November 10th and 11th on nuclear disarmament. Among the participants at the Congress will be experts and Nobel Peace Prize winners. Rome Reports has more from the Vatican.
Dozens of experts and up to 5 Nobel Peace Prize laureates will travel to the Vatican to demand global nuclear disarmament. They include Muhammad Yunus, Mairead Corrigan-Maguire, Jody Williams, Adolfo Perez Esquivel, and Mohamed El Baradei. The head of the UN for matters related to disarmament, Uzumi Nakamitsu, will also be in attendance. All of them will participate in a congress at the Vatican from November 10th through the 11th and will also hold a meeting with Pope Francis. In 2015, the Pope launched a global petition from the United Nations to abolish nuclear weapons. And on September 26, he did the same through this tweet. It was the United Nations International Day for the total elimination of nuclear weapons.
More news now from around the country. After a long hearing that went into the early hours of the morning on November 3rd, the Student Activities Commission at Georgetown University has decided not to impose sanctions on a student group that promotes healthy relationships and advocates for marriage as a monogamous permanent union between a man and a woman. 2 students at Georgetown had filed a complaint against the group called Love Saxa, saying it violated university standards governing student groups, which states that clubs are not eligible for funding if their purpose or activities foster hatred or intolerance of others because of their race, nationality, gender, religion, or sexual preference. The student-governed Student Activities Commission, which supports more than 100 co-curricular student organizations, voted 8-4 that the group was not in violation of university standards. Mary Ford, director of the Department of Life Issues for the Archdiocese of Washington, praised the Student Commission's ruling, saying in a society where pornography and the hookup culture are accepted as commonplace, the voice of Love Saxa, encouraging college students to pursue relationships based in the true meaning of love, is essential. News now from the Vatican. Pope Francis held an audience with members of the International Federation of Catholic Universities who were attending a World Congress in Rome November 1st through the 4th entitled Refugees and Migrants in a Globalized World, Responsibility and Responses of Universities. The Pope proposed several measures to the representatives in attendance of ways the universities can aid in the phenomenon of migration.
The Pope intervened in the meeting on refugees organized by the International Federation of Catholic Universities. The idea was to exchange impressions about how the universities must act in response to the crisis.
Un aspetto essenziale di tale formazione mira alla responsabilità sociale per la costruzione di un mondo più giusto e più umano.
The Pope proposed very concrete measures for this crisis to the universities. First, that they study the remote causes of forced migration and that they look for solutions that guarantee the right to not have to migrate. He also asked them to investigate why people react in a discriminatory and xenophobic way toward the reception of immigrants, and that they propose means of awareness training. Pope Francis wants universities to help value immigrants' contribution to society and that they look for creative ways to give university training to these people, such as online courses for refugee centers or recognizing academic degrees obtained in refugees' countries. Today, there are 65 million people who are either displaced or in refuge. At the moment, at least 12 universities have decided to propose a just and human reflection on what they are witnessing.
Finally in the news, National Black Catholic History Month is this month, and the Diocese of Charleston, South Carolina's Office of Ethnic Ministries is offering some suggestions on how to celebrate the month. Some of their ideas include read the history of Black Catholics in the United States by Benedictine Father Cyprian Davis, who is known as the top storyteller of Black Catholic history. Show the movie Bakhita, From Slave to Saint, about St. Josephine Bakhita, or involve youth in discussion using the new African American Catholic Youth Bible. Black Catholic History Month was initiated in 1990 by the National Black Catholic Clergy Caucus of the United States. November was chosen because it holds two commemorative dates for prominent African Catholics: St. Augustine of Hippo, whose birthday is November 13th, and St. Martin de Porres, whose feast day is November 3rd. Well, that's all the information we have for you at this time. I'm Kevin Nelson. Don't forget, you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV network.